General Clark, how do you think top-ranking members of the military are responding to some of this right now? Are they in fact concerned? What is the process? What actually transpires when there's an event like this?
Well, we're going to have to wait and see really what's behind it. And this is really a lot different than 9/11. Our intelligence agencies, our police forces, everything we do is much sharper. We're going to go back and reconstruct this. We'll go back through all the electronics. We'll go back through all the video surveillance. We'll go back through telephone records, everything. And we're a lot more efficient than we were then. And I think we'll wait and see. We know that if it is Al-Qaeda or someone affiliated with it, we know there's been a risk. We know there's we've said for a long time that there was always a possibility of a bomber who worked alone, who was self-motivated, who was reading websites maybe but wasn't actually in connection. Maybe that's what this is. It's really not very useful to speculate on it at this point.
What's interesting, however, is that there were no alerts or warnings ahead of what we saw today, because oftentimes, a city will come out and say, well, we're on a special alert for a particular event. There was nothing, and the Boston Police Department actually also said they had no real warning of any event like this.
Yeah, and that says there was no chatter, and that says that it was either a group that we're not watching, or it wasn't a group, it was an individual.
But one of the things that will happen in the intelligence community, people will go back retrospectively and say, did we miss anything?
Right.
So you do, prior to a major event like this, have an intelligence section that should receive everything there is to know about any threat to that event. Clearly, they received nothing. It may be there was nothing. There's another possibility in this day and age that will be investigated. Did we miss it?
Well, Richard, what are the pros and cons of actually coming out in advance of an event, whether it's a sporting event or anything else, and saying we have a credible threat that is a concern? What are the pros and cons of actually doing that?
It's tricky. It depends a lot on the individual itself. It's totally fact dependent. It has to do with the specificity of the threat information, the reliability and credibility of where it's coming from, the nature of the event, and it may be there. No one wants to cancel an event like this. That would be unheard of. But there may be some sort of subtle augmentation in the security regime if they get something. In terms of a public advisory about it, that's really frowned upon these days. In the immediate post 9/11 years, when I happened to be working at the White House, that was done more commonly. It was very unpopular and, frankly, operationally problematic.
Because you can only scare people so many times.
Yeah, there's that, and frankly, the general public is not the best consumer of classified threat information. It's always highly uncertain. Not always. It's usually highly uncertain, and it just turned out to not be the best practice to routinely put the general public on general alert to something bad happening, and it was better to deal with it specifically and operationally.
There's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes and that the general public never knows about, never needs to know about. But in this case, apparently there wasn't a warning. But, we do have a lot more capable intelligence communities now, not only national but local. I'm sure Boston is very, very capable, just as New York is, of reconstructing this event and all the signatures around it. So we will be expecting to learn from this.
Very briefly for our viewers, Mayor Menino, the mayor of Boston, is expected to give a press conference momentarily, any minute now. So we will be taking that for you live as soon as he begins speaking. But back to General Clark for a moment. General Clark, the AP, Associated Press, is reporting that Boston's cell phone service has been shut down so as to prevent any kind of potential remote detonation of a bomb. What does that tell you?
Well, that tells me maybe there's some indication that there was a cell phone trigger involved. One of the reports I saw, and I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, is that there's a third device that was found by the police, and perhaps this device they could look at the trigger.
You're most likely referring to what was found at the JFK Library, several miles from the other two blasts, and certainly a concern. And Richard, you addressed that, the fact that there would be three devices so far away from one another, and we still don't know whether there's a fourth. And so there are protocols now to try to deal with that.
This is an active threat, and we've got no reason to believe they think it's over. And so they are on a heightened state of alert. They can't physically search the entire city. They will be, but this is an active threat situation. There's no question.
General Clark, is there some sort of protocol which links military, whether it's reservists simply to lend a hand in a case like this where you're mobilizing so many people?
Yes, we have a means to do that. Inside the Pentagon, there's a Director of Military Support. There's an office in the Pentagon where, for domestic emergencies, people work together. There's also intelligence sharing that's active and ongoing. So we bring national assets to bear, and I'm sure those assets have been brought to bear in this case. But right now, given what we know about it, the military is probably not involved. I would guess that there may be some special units of the military, maybe some explosive ordnance demolition, maybe some medical units in the Massachusetts area. Maybe they've received some kind of a warning order. But it's a little early to expect anything like that.
In this case, the state adjutant general was actually at the press conference standing behind Governor Duvall, who's his boss, when he's operating in state capacity. The National Guard can be federalized and used in foreign military contingencies, but right now they work for the governor. And they do what the governor tells them to do. And they've got many of the capabilities of the regular military. It's a little different, but they are state resources right now.
Dr. Falkenrath, in general, I think of the Hollywooditis that we all have about these tragedies, and we have this omniscient belief that the military has all sorts of listening devices to get the bad guy. That's just not true, is it? It's a lot of hard work.
Well, it's a lot of hard work. We do listen to a lot of things, but we're focused mostly overseas. Now, the FBI has a lot of other listening devices, but there's millions and millions of emails and text messages and social Twitter and many other things going on all the time. So normally the way something like this would evolve, you would expect that there'd be some indicator and you could focus your resources a little bit. We'll have to wait for the people to do the post-mortem on this and figure out exactly what it was, what were the signatures, what did we miss or not miss on this.